5th and 6th graders. Today we are going to do an art lesson. What we're going to do is we're going to make a newspaper article and then we're going to age it so it looks like it came from a really long time ago. So this is a really neat project and I did it for the first time years ago with my daughter. So this is what it's going to look like in the end. It looks like a newspaper article, but we took some coffee and we saturated it in coffee, which means we just soaked it in the coffee, and then we put it in the oven so it got nice and dried and crispy and makes it look aged. So what we're going to do first is we are going to get our supplies. We need a piece of printer paper and a writing utensil. So I have a black pen and Melissa has a black Sharpie. For this one, we're going to use Melissa's and we're going to age Melissa's. Okay, so what I need everybody to do is draw a line across the top of your paper like this. And then we're going to make 2 columns because usually a newspaper has columns. Now what we're going to do is we're going to name our newspaper. And I'm going to name my newspaper the Hesperia Journal. Now this is just the name of mine. You guys at home can name yours whatever you want to. It doesn't matter. Okay, and then once you put the name on your newspaper, we're gonna include 4 headlines. So we need to think what's going on right now in history, and those are going to be our headlines. So my first headline is going to be, because I found this really interesting, you do not have to use mine, use what you find interesting going on in the world right now. I'm going to put as my first one, March Madness canceled. I'm going to use an exclamation mark because this is big news. And then if you want, you could write a little 2 or 3 sentences right here if you want to describe anything about March Madness being canceled. I'm just going to do the headlines. So for my next headline, I'm going to put, what did I put? Unemployment skyrockets. I'm putting that because I feel like that's something that you usually find in a newspaper. I've read many articles about unemployment or the unemployment rate. So I feel like that would be a real thing in a newspaper article. And unemployment just happens to be skyrocketing at this time. Now, we all know what's going on right now with the coronavirus, so I'm going to put something about the coronavirus. I'm going to put the coronavirus affects the whole world and the global economy. Now remember, this is just what I'm putting. You can put whatever you want. And my last thing I'm going to put that we all find very interesting is school canceled until further notice. Okay, I believe they just sent out a date for when school may resume, but I'm just going to keep my headline short and simple and put school canceled until further notice. Now, for these next 2 steps, you're going to need a parent's help. So what you're going to do is you're going to need a baking sheet like this, which is what we make cookies on here at my house. And then are you done, Melissa? Because I'm using yours.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Oh, one last thing I forgot. We got to write the date. Put the date. Every newspaper has a date. So today is, we're going to put it up in the upper right-hand corner, March 22nd, 2020. Gotta have the date on our newspaper. Okay, Melissa, we're gonna put yours on our baking sheet. And then I've already made coffee. What you're gonna wanna do at home is have your parent make a cup of coffee. And then you're gonna use your cup of coffee. Mine's cooled down, so I don't need to worry about it being hot anymore. And then I'm gonna pour it right on top of my paper. Now we need to let it sit. It's gotta be completely saturated. So we're going to let it sit for about 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, we're going to take it out. We're going to take it out of this baking sheet and we're going to put it on this baking sheet. This one has no coffee. This one needs to be completely dry. So if it's wet at all, you need to dry it. This one needs to be dry because this is the one that will be going in the oven. Now, I want you to have your parent turn your oven on at home. The oven needs to be turned on to 350 degrees. So mine is already set for 350 and I want to make sure that my light is on. I need the light on in the oven so I can go ahead and look in there and see if it's going to be done sooner than I think. I'm going to be setting the timer for 3 minutes, but it may be done before that. So I'm going to make sure I have the light on. Okay, this has only been sitting for about, what do you think, Melissa, a minute? 2 minutes? Okay, at home, I want you to let it sit for at least 5 minutes because we want it to get really brown. Okay, see this one was sitting for about 5 minutes. And if you want it to even look more aged than this one, then let it sit for more than 5 minutes. You can let this paper sit for anywhere up to 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how brown you want it. So if you want it more brown, let it sit up to 20 to 30 minutes. And if you want it like this one, then only about 5 minutes. Okay. Now, what we're gonna do, this is the hard part. You have to be very careful when you take it out because this paper now is really wet and it's very easy to rip now that it's wet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my 2 baking sheets right next to each other and I'm gonna carefully take it out. See, this one's not as brown because I didn't let it sit as long. And I'm gonna put it on my dry baking sheet. Now remember, if you want it to be more brown, then please let yours sit longer. Okay, and this is where you're gonna need a parent's help again. Have your parent put it in the oven. And then I'm gonna set the timer for 3 minutes. And remember, I have my light on so I can see if it's going to be done sooner. So we can go ahead and take the phone over here and we can look in the oven. And it's gonna be really neat because you're gonna be able to watch the sides of the paper start crinkling up. And that's really neat. They'll start drying and getting brown and start to crinkle up. So you can come, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it in the oven or not. Probably not because of the, oh, a little bit. See it a little bit. And the side will start to crinkle up. So now we're just gonna wait about 2 more minutes as that gets dry in there. It has to get dry. And it might even take longer than 2 minutes. So we'll see. So we're just gonna wait on that. While that's in there, I'm gonna go ahead and dump my coffee out into the sink carefully. I don't wanna make a mess. Even though art, you usually do make a mess. Okay. There, my coffee is dumped out. Okay, and our timer says we have 1 minute and 30 seconds left. And now, yep, I can see the sides of the paper are starting to rise up. That means it's starting to dry. And it hasn't really, the edges haven't quite turned brown yet, so I'm gonna let it keep going. I'm probably gonna let it go for the full minute that's left. So remember, we set the timer for 3 minutes at 350 degrees. And then in about 1 more minute, I'm gonna take it out and Melissa's aged newspaper article will be complete. Okay, why don't we look up here at the timer? Remember, we're at 350 degrees and we're gonna go for about 45 more seconds. Remember, if you're doing this at home, this is the step that your parent needs to do. And actually, I'm not sure if I'm gonna let it go the whole last 30 seconds. I think it's about done. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn my timer off and turn my oven off. Okay. And now I'm gonna take it out with my glove here. And, oh, this looks great, Melissa. It even looks a little bit, about the same. And here's our aged newspaper article. Okay, and that's it. So good luck to all of you at home doing your art. Bye.